Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. Episode 77, that just blows my mind, and it continues to blow my mind as we keep rolling out these episodes. And that's what we're talking about today. Let the ambition roll. You see, success begins in the mind, and I don't want to muck around, I want to get straight into it, so buckle up. Success begins in the mind, and it starts in the head and in the mind where you have your deepest thoughts. It's a dangerous place. It's a scary place, but it can be the most amazing and creative space as well. And that really comes down to, what you're doing and how you're spending your time and how you're surrounding yourself with people. But that's a different conversation. You see, in order to get to where we want to be or anywhere we want to be or to achieve anything, you need to set your mind towards it. You need to be working towards it. But most of all, it's the mind that plays the biggest part, because we've spoken about it in a couple of episodes back where if you're not believing that you can achieve something, it's going to be very hard for you to actually achieve it. Like any result or output, you need to put in some action. You need an input before you can reap the rewards. That's standard principles. In manufacturing, you need an input to get an output. You need to cast a rod before you can catch a fish. So my question to you before we get into the deepness of this episode is, are you ambitious? Are you passionate? And what are you ambitious for? You see, ambition, as defined by Google or the dictionary, is a strong desire to do or achieve something. Think of it like a North Star, where you are heading, where you want to be. And I've spoken about the North Star as well. It's one of my favorite topics of knowing where you're wanting to be. And the reason why we talk about it as a North Star is it's very familiar of how they used to navigate under the stars in, back in the days when we didn't have tech. They're out on their sail ships or their big ships, and they're out in the middle of, in the darkness of the moonlight, and they can see all the stars. And that North Star is where they're heading towards. It's where they're heading towards. It's what they need to follow to know where they need to go. So in this current world, in this current understanding of North Star, it's following the stars to where you want to be. Letting them navigate you, letting them guide you. And we're not talking about go out and look at the stars and see what they're telling you. What I'm talking about is understand what are the milestones, understand what is that long-term thing in the sky that you can see far away in your vision that you want. Be bold, think big, and when you know what that is, these enable you to think bigger and greater beyond yourself, of what you thought you were more than capable of doing. Now, I know this can sound overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming to think so big, and doubt can jump in very, very quickly. But this is why the mind is so important of when we're thinking about it, because if you do not believe that those things are possible, then you're going to shelve them and you probably won't come back to them. And this is what you want to avoid. You don't want to be thinking about all these amazing ideas, but thinking you could never have that, or that North Star is too overwhelming, or that's not possible. You might want to have an island one day, own an island. Now you think, that's only millionaires have that. Well, why can't you be a millionaire? Why can't you own an island? Why can't you have it? Right? And when we break down that mentality, we start to realize that we're just putting ourselves in a box, and we don't want that. We need to mitigate this. We need to put this aside and figure out how do we ensure that we can stay focused on our ambitions. We should be setting both ambitious long-term goals and also some clear short-term targets. And why they're targets is because they're shorter. You're shooting at them, they're targets within our reach. Just as a greyhound runs faster when chasing, the mechanical rabbit as it spins around the race course, people are motivated when they're pursuing identifiable targets. Things that we can see that we know are within our reach. We just got to reach out or chase it, or, put a little pressure or a little fuel on the pump to get to where we want to be. Do you have your targets in sight? Do you understand what are your short-term targets that are going to get you closer to those long-term ambitious goals? Can you see what you're chasing for? And I've spoken about it in, actually, I think it was the last episode where I broke down of how you can further your life, how you can break down some different steps to help visualize these things and understand what is it actually going to take. You see, these targets should be small sprints broken down into a bigger plan. And if you can achieve those smaller things over a longer period of time, getting to that bigger goal is going to be so much easier. So a question for you, and this is one that I hear a lot by a lot of people, and I used to think the same thing when I was 20, when I was 18, 20, 22 even. It's that whole statement around if you want to be secure and financially free by 30 years old, what does that even mean? And a lot of people do. They tell me they want to be secure and financially free by 30. But what does that look like? What does that actually mean? Understand it. Like, break it down. Is it $150,000 in the bank? I'm not sure what that $150,000 in the bank enables you to have or do. I'm not sure if it'll make you fully secure, but this idea that having that will, right? Is it a full-time job with great perks and some, benefits? Is it a couple of houses? Is it a family and kids? What is it? Like, what is being 30 and secure and financially free mean? What does that look like? It might be your own business. It might be, as I said before, having a family and having no stress to pay bills or to live life. It could be a range of different things. And maybe it's to not have to worry about money and you don't have to worry about time. You've got unlimited free time. But you really need to understand, what does that actually mean? What does that even look like? Because whatever that ambition is, you need to know, what does it take? What will it require? And how are you going to make it happen? We can talk about all these things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have that. I'm going to be this. You watch me. But we will watch you. And if you don't do anything, that's on you. I mean, to be honest, there's not many people watching other people. Most people are thinking about themselves. They're selfish to themselves. They might start comparing and thinking that person's ahead. But once again, that comes back on you if you haven't progressed. If you're spending all your time watching other people progress, you're not progressing. You can learn from them to help you move forward, but don't just sit watching. Make sure you're doing too. If you want to work for yourself, if you want to be a business owner, what are you doing today that enables you to get closer to that? You can say you want to own a business. You can say you want a business, but unless you're doing something towards that, no one's going to come along and give you a business. I mean, they might, but it probably won't make sense. Why would they give you a business if you have no business experience, if you have no understanding of business? So what are you doing to make that opportunity come to life? Is it education? Is it experience? Is it learning? Are you gathering the skills that will enable you to do this? Are you learning how to do this? What are you doing? Or are you focusing on, I'll make some money now and then I'll do it when I have the time? You see, that's kind of not the best way to think, because if you're just focusing on making money and you'll do it when you have time, yeah, the money will enable you to have time for sure. But if you expect to save for 5 years to then start pursuing your goals in 5 years' time, you don't have to wait that long. Start with what you can today. Start with doing one little thing that is going to enable that ambition to become a little clearer and a little closer. Some short-term targets. Research and learn on how to start a business. Begin putting things in place. Test out some ideas, A and B testing, or share some of the ideas with friends and family or other people in that area. Would it even work? Read up on the industry to understand where you fit in. What is the entry strategy? What are the barriers to entry? What is the SWOT analysis? We can go on and on about all these different things. You can read books. You can start to educate yourself from reading books or other areas. You can take some small courses. You could reach out to other people already doing this, some mentors, or find a mentor to help you get towards this. There are so many different things that you can do today that will help you, I guess, get closer to making this happen, or to start this quest today. If it will take you time to learn, then the sooner you learn, then when the time is ready to execute, you'll be ready to rock and roll. And I think this is the key thing, is if it's going to take you 5 years to learn, don't wait till you have the money to learn. Start learning today, because then when you have the money, you're basically ready to go. So let that ambition roll. I really do appreciate you being here. If you have enjoyed this episode, do let me know. You can reach out to me on the socials, and reach out if you are watching it on the YouTube. You can also leave a comment. Otherwise, if this episode has resonated with you and if you think someone else could benefit from this or needs to hear this today, please go ahead and share it. Reach out to someone, tell them why you think this would be a good episode for them to listen to. That would mean the absolute world to me, and I thank you in advance. Otherwise, appreciate you being here, and you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.